jump in this thing and see what it'll do.
Ready to rock this, bro?
Oh, hell yeah. Dulces. Oh, you don't even have a beer cap. How are you gonna open it up on this? Oh, wait, here you go. There we go.
Nice work, Birdsong.
What up, everybody? I am sitting inside a 68 Charger loaded with all kinds of gutted Hell Kitty junk. So, we got the console, we got the radiator, we got the heat exchanger, we got the coolers, we even got a gas tank in the trunk, got the steering column, all the wiring harness. They got the LCD display, everything. So, this Charger is in fact General Mayhem. This is the car that actually attracted me to Roadkill. This is the first thing that I saw on Roadkill. Me being a Charger guy, which I have a bunch of Chargers, and I build Chargers. This is the car that, when this episode aired, debuting General Mayhem, I saw it on YouTube, was like, hey, what the hell? Actually, no, someone linked it on a Dodge Charger forum. This is before I was like super savvy with like Facebook and Instagram and all the other social media sites. I was on forum groups, and one of the forums, somebody linked the video to the first General Mayhem build. After watching that, I subscribed to the YouTube channel and watched Roadkill ever since. And now I am sitting inside of it, and I am actually going to be the one that gets to return Mayhem to its former glory of dirt. Dirtfish. This is the car that started it all for me watching Roadkill. One of my favorite cars, and actually it's one of my favorite TV shows because they can relate to everything I do. I like to beat the crap out of my cars. I like to have fun with my cars. I like to get them running good enough to have fun. I do have some cars I will build nice, but in the meantime, I am the one that gets to build and return Mayhem to its former glory of, what is this? Oh, we're gonna go, this is Mayhem 2.0. Everybody wants to see Mayhem back at 1.0. So, when they did the whole Hellcat swap, there's a lot of things on this car that weren't exactly done proper. We'll just say that. So, We got to replace the tail panel because it still has the duct tape cover where they notched it out for the Hellcat taillights. We got to replace the trunk pan. We got to replace the wheelhouses. Here's the bad thing about the wheelhouses. And I still have not, my original GoPro mount that I would actually hold broke. So I'm actually just kind of freehand holding the GoPro, so sorry if it's jerky. But the wheelhouses, I got to replace put wider AMD style wheelhouses in. We got to fix this. The bad thing is when they put these wheelhouses in, they cut out all the original structure. So they cut out the roof structure inside the wheel well. They cut out here. They cut this for the roll cage. They removed the inner regulator panel and they cut the rear seat pan. That's just what I can see. The other side is the same problem. So I've got to return all that back to original 68 Charger, but with a slightly wider wheel tub from AMD. We got a floor pan that I might have to replace. Problem is we don't have any floors. AMD is all out of floors right now. So I'm going to do what I can with what I have, but this might stay in the meantime. But they have a kind of patched in piece that's riveted for the Hellcat transmission. They also cut out the steering column bracket. So they didn't cut it out, they cut the bottom of it off. And so trying to put an original Mopar steering column in here isn't gonna work. See, we have this cut out. I don't even know why that was cut out. I'm assuming for some of the Hellcat stuff. We have a K-frame that's been completely notched and cut out. We have a core support that is from the Hellcat. We have to cut that back out. Let's see, what else we got in here? We got to remove the front windshield because this dash is coming out. We're getting a new dash in it because they cut out all the center structure of the dash out to put the Hellcat stuff in it. And Freiberger also wants me to do a couple upgrades. He wants a tubular shock tower with a rear sway bar mount, a torsion style rear sway bar. So I showed him what I had done to one of my cars. This is one of my 6.9 turquoise car. I had made a tubular upper shock mount and I put a rear sway bar on it. Yes, I know that's a toothpick sway bar, but that's actually a NASCAR sway bar and it came with 5 different rate torsion bars. So that's just the skinniest one I put in there for now. This is actually a Hellcat swap car I did. Got a little bit of water right there. That's just surface rust, but did a trans tunnel for it. Did the whole Hellcat swap. It's actually inside of it right now. And I'm getting ready to do the inner structure, subframe connectors, and reinforce the body. So that way this big old Hellkitty motor won't twist it. Because those Chargers never came with 700 horsepower. Let's see. The only thing left to do right now is get to cutting apart and removing the old Hellcat drivetrain out, because it is not going to be Hellcat no more. It is in fact going to be motorhome 440 powered awesomeness. So no more drag car, back to rally car. Here we go. All right, before I can strip this, I need to get rid of this. It's too hot. Ah, that feels much better. I feel the breeze on my scalp now. So much cooler. Anyways, got Mayhem all cleaned out. Show you some of what we've got to do here. So, as you can see, they have modified the trunk to fit them big old tubs in it. We got the hinge supports that are just flapping in the wind there. Both sides. They've cut all the roof structure out of the car. Like, that is supposed to be attached to that. That's supposed to be attached to that. And everything ties together because it's a unibody. So without all of that structure being tied together, and now that Freiberger and Dulcich have cut the cage out of the car, this car is extremely weak. So we really need to get all that unibody structure back attached how it's supposed to be. And that is why Freiberger contacted me, because I know Chargers. I build Chargers. Actually, here's one right here. I'm doing this for Raymond Kahn. He's with Northeast Ohio Dukes. This is the going back together stage. You should have seen it when we first put it on the jig. There was nothing left of it. So this one's going back to, actually, I pulled this one out of the way because I'm waiting on quarter panels from AMD. And since I'm waiting on panels for this, they need that done and I'm on a time frame. So pull this out of the way. I'm gonna throw some blankets over it, throw a car cover over it. It'll be just fine. Plus, I'm in Las Vegas. Signs of rain are very minimal. Back to this. So we've got this inner fender we got to patch. We got to cut that out. And the floors, yeah, they cut up the torsion support, which the torsion support is what's underneath the floor. This is what actually holds the torsion bars. Now, I don't even know exactly how much modification they did to it because I haven't gotten the car up in the air, but I know that needs to be replaced. The floor needs to be replaced. And with the floor, the trans tunnel, and they've also cut up the firewall for their taller trans patch piece, whatever you want to call it. And with these tubs, they've also cut out the inner rear regulator panel, the rear seat pan, the rear seat braces. There's literally nothing supporting any of that. Again, this is all unibody structure that's supposed to tie all together. You remove one link from this unibody structure, you significantly weaken the car. You gotta pull the glass out so I can get the dash out, fix the steering column bracket. And I don't even know what kind of surprises I'm gonna have in here. It's probably full of rubber, knowing the Roadkill guys. Well, they've cut up the quarter panel here. Ooh, that's not good. I can see the inner rocker exposed. So I'm gonna have some surprises all throughout this car that I know is gonna need attention. This stuff here, I'm not even worried about it. He's not addressing any of that. We are keeping the Roadkill look intact. So, and with the tail panel, I'm going to mimic the original look of the tail panel, the same paint scheme, everything. So I probably need to fix, I think he asked me if I could fix this dent here. So probably patch in a lower quarter right there, see if we can get rid of that. Fix this. All of this work in 30 days. See if I can get some buddies over here to help me tackle some of the small stuff. But now it's time to get it up in the air, on stands, and strip it. So, time-lapse time. Alright, Derek and I just about got Mayhem stripped. Still got to do a couple things. One thing we noticed, getting the car all squared up, I couldn't put the car on the frame jig because I have a 69 General Lee on the frame jig. So, General Lee, General Mayhem. Coincidence? Yeah! But, a couple things I noticed that I told Freiberg about it is, so, they put 700 horsepower in a non-reinforced body. Well, actually, I take that back. They reinforced from here back, but from here forward, there was no reinforcing. This is the area where 700 horsepower was sitting. So, a couple things it did was this frame rail bent up, and so much torques that it popped all the spot welds on the inner fender. So, because when this thing comes up, those spot welds back there go. So, see if I can get a better look at it here. Trying to look at what you're looking at. See all those, there we go. All those spot welds right there popped loose. So, I'm gonna reinforce, or we're gonna re-weld that, but we're also gonna try and push the frame rail down. If this was sitting on the frame jig, it would be so much easier for me to fix this. But since it's not, it's just on jack stands, we're actually gonna get a little creative. We're gonna take a porta power and go from that frame rail up to here so we can push down the frame rail. It's only a 1/2 inch, so it's not like we're shooting for the moon here. But other than that, the car is pretty square. Got the drivetrain out, everything stripped out of the car. now we're gonna work on the ass end of this old girl. So we're gonna get the taillights out, the bumper, the rear axle, trunk lid. Probably won't get the tubs out tonight. Nah, we won't get tubs out tonight because it's already like, what time is it? Like 8 o'clock maybe? Yeah, 8 o'clock, yeah. So, and if you haven't noticed, people that don't know me, this is a residential neighborhood. So, trying to somewhat not piss everybody off, we usually stop making noise around like 9 o'clock. So, that's what we're gonna do. And if I notice that these wheelhouses here are really poorly installed. Yeah, that's light right there. Actually, let me go grab a flashlight so I can show you the awesomeness. This light, by the way, is amazing. So let's get up inside this wheel well, which is coated in rubber. The whole thing is just saturated with rubber. And they've also been making corners with really wide tires because the sidewall of the wheelhouse is wore out. The metal is through. Oh yeah, so we get back to our little awesomeness here. So you can see the precision cut they made on doing this wheelhouse, and then they just filled it with seam sealer. You know, there's probably about 5 pounds of seam sealer in one wheelhouse, in which here's some of the original wheelhouse, new wheelhouse. And they cut into the rocker, so that's all exposed. So I have to figure out what I gotta fix here, because I have no idea how much they cut out. They cut out some of the quarter panel. Let's see what we got in the backside here. Same thing, just kind of crudely installed. They also brought the leaf springs inboard, so that way they can put a wider tire on it. I don't know if they're gonna fix that or not. If he wants handling, he should fix it. There's like a good 1/4 inch of rubber in the wheelhouse. Yep, and you can see all this got to come out. Well, you can see we're gonna be busy tonight, and we still got to pull the windshield. Never mind. We're just gonna stick the ass in right now because there's so much we got to do. We just need to get it done. All right, Derek. Ready? One of the most iconic parts of a 68 Charger. It's round tail lights. And we gotta replace this tail panel because we need to get rid of this duct tape. Because this tail panel has been butchered for those Hellcat tail lights. So, tail panel to correct the awesomeness of 68 Charger tail lights. Can't be having duct tape right here. So, now we gotta pull these quarter extensions off, and then we can start drilling out the tail panel. All right. All right, so we got Mayhem all stripped apart. The dash is gone, the lower valence is gone, the bumper's gone. The only thing left, really, before I start have to cutting the car apart, is I need to remove the window regulator and I need to remove the glass. The regulator is not as important, but that side don't have a regulator, and it's got a Frankenstein regulator support, so I can just go ahead and remove this guy, get the glass out, because I don't want to shatter the glass, because this is an original glass. Even though Freiberger's probably not going to use it, the original glass, you kind of want to save it. And I know this was an AC car because it's got tinted glass. Of course, it's not exactly I can tell it's an AC car, but I can tell by the firewall because it has all the knockouts in the firewall for an AC car. But all AC cars came with tinted glass, or you could have ordered a car with just tinted glass, but it's not very common. What I need to do though is I need to try and get this, hopefully this regulator works. Ooh, it is working. All somewhat. Here we go. Wow, that's probably the first time that window's been up in a long time. Look how dirty that fucker is. Alright, well, enough horsing around. You get this thing done. Alright, got the tail panel off of Mayhem. And I know there's going to be a couple people of you that are going to say, oh, you can't just drill through the spot welds. Why didn't you just use a spot weld cutter? I did. On the areas that it mattered. The areas that it didn't matter, just use a drill bit. Right through it. Because just drilling through this and drilling through the rear valence and drilling through here, same thing there, the quarter panel, same thing with the rear valence on the other side, is when I put the new tail panel on there, I'm just going to weld it from the backside. So that way from the outside, it looks mint. So actually with my welds, they look mint anyway, inside and out. But that's what I do when I'm replacing a tail panel. I look at it, whatever, like right here, I used a spot weld cutter here. I used a spot weld cutter here. You can see, because I didn't want to drill through that because it's hard to weld from up in here. I also used the spot weld cutter here because I didn't want to because it's real thin here. I didn't want to damage the area, so yeah, spot weld cutter there. So yeah, there's places to use it. If you're not worried about damaging the metal behind it, just use a drill bit because spot weld cutters kind of suck, and they wear out fast. Even though I lubricate it like every 2 spot welds, it just use a drill bit. Yep, so I'm going to finish taking these brackets out. This is the trunk lock bracket. This is the tail panel support bracket. Finish taking those out. Then I got to remove the rear bumper supports. Then we got to start working on getting the whole trunk pan out, and to get the wheelhouses out, which that won't be too hard because they're literally not in there that well at all. Actually, here, yeah, look at this. See if I can get the camera over there. All right. Yeah, if you look right there, that's literally what has been holding these wheelhouses in. All the way around. A couple little stitch welds here and there. Just extremely crude. No wonder Freiberger got rid of this thing. And then he tried to get another charger, but found they were too expensive, they were rusty, and Freiberger and rust, no, that's like his arch enemy is rust. He won't even touch it if it's got rust. So he decided he would buy this back and fix it up to make it mint again. Actually better than it was when he first got it. All right, back to work.
Yeah. Sorry, I was like, what is he trying to do?
Hey girls. Yeah, these are my buddies. Alright. Why is the Mayhem under the knife? Why is it cut apart? Why is it being redone? And what am I doing to it? I get that question asked a lot working on this car. I'm going to answer that. So here's the problems with Mayhem. When this car was converted into a drag car, they cut the factory wheelhouses out of the car and put drag racing tubs in it, which you would think, yeah, not a big deal, it's a drag car, just put wider tubs in it. But here's the problem. This is a unibody. And when they cut those wheelhouses out and put in those real thin drag race tubs, they had removed all of the structure out of the back of the car. So all of this right here, that's all roof structure that is supposed to tie into the wheelhouses. And those wheelhouses tie into the quarter panel. And those quarter panels tie into the rear trunk hinge. And then they tie into the frame rail, which if you look now, the frame rail has been cut. So there is no flange left on this side of the frame rail, which weakens it. So I'm gonna have to add the flange back to the frame rail just so I can even have a spot to weld the new trunk to as well. And you can see the rear seat braces were cut, which, believe it or not, that actually is integrity of the car. So, and the front window regulator panel, this right there, that is structure. All of this is supposed to tie in together. Right now, I can take Mayhem and I can shimmy the top half of Mayhem from the bottom half. They're completely separate, except for this little tiny corner, the rear valence corner. That's the only thing tying the top half to the bottom half, and that's not a whole lot of structure right there. So these are the main problems of why Mayhem is getting redone. Also, the tail panel is more cosmetic because they had cut the tail panel for the Hellcat taillights. So that was more cosmetic than it was structure because there was still enough metal there that it didn't need to be replaced, but it was kind of ugly. Trunk pan. The reason I'm doing a trunk pan is because we're going to be putting the AMD wheelhouses in it, which is actually a wider than stock wheelhouse. But in order to do that, I need to put a new trunk pan in it, and I got to modify the trunk pan so that way it'll work with the wider wheelhouses. Probably going to end up doing lower quarters on this thing because these lower quarters are kind of Swiss cheese. They're so thin because dirt gets down into the trunk extensions and it holds moisture and just eats the insides of the quarter panel. Same thing with this side. So wheelhouses, roof structure, front window regulator panel, trunk hinge, seat braces, trunk pan, frame rails, inner outer wheelhouse, and they also cut up the rockers. So the back side of the rocker, I'm gonna have to re-add all the flange and lengthen the rocker because it was cut back a little bit, and I've got to I have to make a piece of the lower quarter panel because it's been cut out. See, there's no flange here left anymore. What else? Oh, also when the wheelhouses were done, the rear seat pan was cut out, so can't have that. So luckily I have an old rear seat pan that is an original. I'm going to cut it and I'll splice in a piece of the old seat pan. The torsion support was cut up to allow the bigger transmission to fit. Also, I've already fixed this. That's just the steering column bracket, and this is actually out of the C-Body Roadrunner. Let's see. Oh, so I also got to put a floor pan in this thing, but probably won't get to it this time because they don't have one. So the firewall and the floor and the torsion support was all modified for the Hellcat transmission. So that's got to get redone. The lower core support. Oh, I almost pulled a cartoon move there. The lower core support's beat up. I'm going to try and straighten all that out And then what we're gonna do is a body stiffening kit to the front of Mayhem, because the front of these cars is super weak. Like what you consider frame rails in these cars, like that right there. Yeah, it looks like a frame rail. It acts like a frame rail, but it does not have the structural integrity of a frame rail. So all that is just a slightly thicker sheet metal formed to look like a frame rail. And fenders on these cars actually is structured. That's why there's so many bolts to hold it on. And some of these bolts here are missing. And with a 700 horsepower motor and the bashing they did to this thing, all the spot welds on the inner fender on the back side were blown out on the driver's side, because that is the torque side of the engine. So, and this frame rail is bent up a little bit, so I'm gonna have to bend that frame rail down. So just to summarize it up, that is letting you know what is wrong with Mayhem and what's got to be done to fix it. Oh, I also got to put a tubular shock tower brace there, so I got to make one so that way that'll be stronger, because those things are flimsy, they're weak. I mean, there's not a whole lot of integrity to that shock tower. I'm actually one-handed, I'm twisting it. So we're gonna make a tubular one that's stronger. I had made one, actually I'll show you real quick. Here's a Hellcat car that I've been building for a guy. Here's one of my cars. Here's a rear shock tower tubular one I had made for one of my cars, and I put a torsion style sway bar on the back of it. So gonna be doing the same thing to Mayhem. See, this one's got a Hell Kitty in it, but this car has a whole US Car Tools Stage 2 body stiffening kit, which Mayhem's gonna get the same thing. All right, I think I've summed it up. Now, I need to get to work. Lots of work. All right. When your frame jig is occupied, so you pull out the full genius. Oh yeah, professional. All right, Sam. That's the mascot. All right.